Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from future comics new and old to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Future State Superman / Wonder Woman 2. This comic was an experience, a whirlwind. It took me from meh to annoyed to an occurrence that transformed the entire experience. It was so ludicrous that it filled me with joy and made me excited to tell you all about it. Can't stop the Future State train, baby, unless you're Catwoman, that is, and have some sweet, sweet cat knee pads. Let's ride. But before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Join us on this comic book journey. Last time, Solaris showed up in Earth's solar system, which prompted sun god Quatch to get angry and challenge the artificial sun to both a race and a heat-off. This wreaked havoc on the poor Earth below. He lost the race, by the way. The second one was a tie. Superman went up to talk to Solaris after him and Wonder Woman had done some light rescuing on Earth, and she had told him about the sun god situation, which he didn't believe for no reason. Jon challenges Solaris to a fight the next day, and if he wins, the sun has to leave, but Solaris' energy is messing with him, and when he goes to write his daily good morning message to the people of Metropolis he bawled decades earlier, he collapses. Part 2. The cover sits on a throne of lies, with Superman and Wonder Woman riding the sun and moon god's steeds into battle. Well, it's not a full lie. Steeds are ridden. It's okay, but it just feels like you could have done more for the team at the end of the last comic dubbed The Planet's Finest. The narration opens in a bizarrely casual mood. Jon Kent has no idea what time it is. This is very unusual, unless there's something wrong with his cells, like if he was weakened by red sunlight or something like that. Jon has awakened disoriented in his fortress and is headed towards some noises he hears in the main area, which is now styled like an Arctic-style Batcave. Good to see the 90s Superboy costume lives. It's come around and is now completely on trend at the time of this recording. Yara is trying to lasso the headless mule, but her aggressive attitude is rendering her skittish. Thankfully, Jon is there to calm the situation down. She fills him in on everything, like the fact that he passed out, she carried him back to the fortress, and that he left a Bugs Bunny-style crater. She's quite amused by that. She tells him she's getting ready to handle the sun god situation, which I wasn't fully aware from where we left last issue was a situation that needed handling, but it's fine because she's on it. The sun god is upset that he lost the race against Solaris because an artificial sun shouldn't beat the real thing. So Wonder Woman offered to race him because that's just as good. She says that he agreed because it will increase his myth. But I mean, would it to the same level as defeating a giant artificial sun? I don't think so. But you know what? It's fine. The comic then decides that we need some Jon character development. Would he care for a Samaritan-style guilt complex? It's revealed that in order to save a planet, Superman needs to fire Chekhov's gun. I mean, this black hole gun at a black hole growing in the center of this little universe inside of the fortress. Keep a planet there out of its danger zone. But he has to do it every day before 10:30 or the people will die. This is to set up that Jon is stressed, overworked, putting a lot of pressure on himself. He believes that the universe and the world cannot function without a Superman, and Yara is concerned. This is interesting, but last issue there were zero hints of this. We did not see this in the leisurely guy who savors his coffee and skywrites every day, so it feels very abrupt. It's interesting, but it comes out of left field. Jon then launches into an angsty climate change PSA about how humanity had almost destroyed itself. He could hear the earth cracking, hear the poles melting, but humanity managed to turn it around. Yay, but not yay. But I'm half human, so I feel it. How every day the nasty little bits of our nature threaten to sneak back in. There's a lot one could focus on there. The usual, boo, humans suck. But I mean, that's par for the course. There's something else to examine. So I'm gonna highlight something that you see there. It is again, the Jon is half human thing being highlighted and brought to the forefront. This is 3 stories now where it's been brought up. And it's been focused on in some capacity and he's been othered for it, either by other characters or by himself. Now they're once more playing in the genetic differences between Kryptonians and humans, and kind of hinting that what Kara keeps saying about Kryptonians being superior is a thing, or they're inadvertently making it sound like it is. But Jon was largely raised for most of his childhood on Earth, like Clark, so wouldn't he have a more human disposition? I mean, except for that time, hyper-aged in space, tortured for all those years. But then wouldn't he also have a glimpse of the negativity of Kryptonian nature as well? Why is that not being highlighted? He bottled a city. Which half of him did that? The whole half thing, like your DNA and the parts of it decide and dictate your actions, like, oh, his human half wanted coffee, but his Kryptonian half wanted tea. This is all skirting some uncomfortable eugenics and miscegenatory territory, and I don't like it. He also goes on about how Superman's job is to hold humanity accountable, which sounds overlordy coming from someone who balled a city. I don't think any of this is supposed to come across that way. But as I always say, we're all coming from different subject positionings, different experiences, and those can affect how we interpret things and the lens we view them through. It can provide all kinds of viewpoints. This made me feel like I need to stay far away from Jon and question why DC keeps harping on the half-human thing. But I want to hear what you think about this. Is this alarm belly for you? Or do you agree with what it was trying to articulate? Or feel that it meant something else? Think I'm just going too deep? Nah, come on. We can go one more deeper. You don't believe we could do that without a Superman? Don't know. You're so tired. tired. So Jon was supposed to go up against Solaris, but he's still wonky from all the radiation. So Yara has a classic tried and true solution: switch opponents. She'll deal with Solaris, and since the headless mule is getting along well with Jon anyway, he can do the race. Yara's gonna find a way to use that black hole gun and make a black hole sun. I'm not sorry. Because of course she is. They wouldn't have introduced it in such a contrived manner if it wasn't going to figure into the plot. Oh, this black hole gun here that I have to use every day. Sure hope it doesn't figure into the plot in a big way later on. It would be a shame to use it. Jon has to sell the idea that he's racing the sun god to him. I don't believe in gods. Not really. Excuse me, what? You live in the DC universe. Darkseid is. The new gods on New Genesis. Forget them. Zeus, the Greek pantheon. They've interacted with Wonder Woman. The gods of the multiverse who reshaped it. How can you make a statement like that in a universe like this? It does not make sense, Jon. Do you also not really believe in capes even though you're wearing one? Quartz agrees to this race because he says that beating Superman would be good for his myth. And Solaris agrees to change opponents to Wonder Woman because he thinks Wonder Woman isn't strong enough to beat him. The race is 300 laps around Pluto with nobody judging or watching. Sounds legit. We do get this awesome panel of Yara shooting the black hole gun. Credit where credit is due, that's cool. At first Solaris is thrilled by the burst of extra energy until Yara gives him a science lesson, sorta kinda. Makes him burn so hot that he turns blue, cause no more hydrogen. Which changes the color of the sunlight, which she claims was what was holding Jon back, as we saw that he was struggling in the race, being a lap behind. Actually, there's a good build up between the two events. It does feel like Jon is struggling, and it makes you root for him. This change causes Solaris to flee in fear, and with his influence gone, Jon doesn't even need a horse, head or no head, and he easily laps the sun. Or so he says, because no one was watching, so we just have to take his word for it, and Quatch doesn't want to and says that he cheated. Relax, Quatch, no one's trying to take your godhood away from you. Why are you being so weird about this, Jon? Quatch gets mad at being condescended to, but we're supposed to side with Jon, who then goes and does something that took all of my annoyance and transformed it into laughter. He goes and in a giant splash page punches the actual sun. Look at the little pal, the serious face, everything. I could only feel happiness at this level of absurdity. There's also a follow-up panel of the sun god being knocked spinning by this blow, since he is essentially the sun. It is pure, joyful child logic. These two panels, no matter what else happened in the story, I will always have them. I will hold them close to my heart. You know another thing where someone punched the sun? Monster Prom. And Scott Pilgrim, that guy punched the moon. Punching celestial entities. 10 out of 10. Jon, did you just punch the sun? So Quatz decides to tell people he fought Wonder Woman to a standstill, and they decide to give him the W. Solaris is gone, and Yara decides to take over as Superman for the day, taking over his black hole gun duty so he can have the day off. But he comes over with coffee and breakfast so that they can eat together. But did he write his daily sky message, I hear you asking? That is the true question. The story cannot conclude without you. Yes, he did. And he wrote not just to Metropolis, but to the whole Earth. Look, tremble before Superman, aka Good Morning Earth. I just want to point out that the interior keeps calling them the planet's finest, but the cover called them the new world's finest. Memos were not exchanged. Where to begin? This comic is a hot mess, but one that has the potential to be enjoyable. If you treat it on a popcorn level kind of way and don't try to engage it too deeply, then you can just get swept up in the wackiness, mythological gods, giant artificial sun, space race, giant black hole gun. For example, I can see kids of a certain age really enjoying this. That's not a bad thing. There are some fun things about this comic, but if you do go beneath the surface even a little bit, there are also a lot of problems. Tonally, it's confusing. Is that lighthearted tone the desired one? Because if so, there are a couple of sequences that feel extremely out of place or not woven well into the rest of the story. The narration box is also vacillating in tone, from overly casual to your more standard dramatic exposition. The pacing between the few issues doesn't flow as smoothly as some of the other entries in Future State. It does have that rushed feeling, so not everything feels like it connects exactly, or the connections are looser. Jon's character is doing flips in this story, and like Superman of Metropolis, does not earn his sudden foray into deep angst. Yara is still a constant, and the more one gets to know her, the more like a fun character addition she seems. The friendship between Jon and Yara came across a lot better this issue, and there is something wholesome about the last panel of them having breakfast together. However, the art in general in this book is very uneven. There are some beautiful panels, but there are also some where characters are wildly off model. Not gonna lie, I would have ended up far more annoyed at this comic if it were not for that panel where Jon punches the sun. It just fell into a JoJo level of madness that I appreciated. In short, this comic could hit completely different depending upon the mood or headspace you're in when you read it. It was okay. I give this comic 1 giant punch to the sun and 2 big blasts from a black hole gun. What did you think of it? I want to hear your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking this time out of your day to spend it discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.